back to another episode of CRE, The Unspoken Truth. I'm Charlie Capola with my father and our CEO, Craig Capola. Today, our topic is another Mythbusters question or topic. And so the name of the episode is Technology Will Soon Replace Commercial Real Estate Brokers. And this is something you and I don't believe is true, and we're going to talk about it. And so
There you go.
Let's start with, okay, technology, of course, is changing brokerage. So will you start and list a few of the areas today that someone on the outside is saying, yes, and for me, Zillow comes to mind, right? On the residential side. What else are you seeing?
Well, I want to go back for those who weren't around in the 80s, 90s, used to have to go to a travel agent to book airline tickets. And then the internet came in and you could book, and right away, the first one to do it was Southwest Airlines. So you could book airline tickets through Southwest, but no other airline. And over the next 5 years, the travel agent industry, which is akin to what we do in commercial real estate brokerage, morphed. And what happened is I looked at the numbers before this summer. There was 128,000 travel agents pre-internet. Today, there's like 50,000. So there was over a 50% reduction in travel agents with the advent of technology. And what's happening in our business now, commercial real estate, the same thing's going to happen. There's over 100,000 commercial real estate brokers in the country. Each one of those is going to have a major pressure on themselves to be better, to be different. And that's where technology is forcing us. And it's not necessarily forcing us to lose as a broker, but the mediocre brokers, those guys are going to get washed. Those guys and gals will be washed out of our business in the next 5 years because they're just not good enough. And that's what happens. As you know, I played professional baseball, and when I got released, I simply wasn't good enough. And so we see this in all times, like the baseball, there's just better athletes that come in. Some of the athletes that played professional baseball in the 50s couldn't even make a minor league team today because the athletes have gotten better and better and better. And that's what's happening now in our technology. We see technology. You can't be a mediocre broker and survive over the next 5 to 10 years.
Have you seen that already? Consolidation up to the top. The top brokers are doing more business, and therefore there's fewer brokers because there's less work to go around. Has that already happened, or is that just something you think will happen going forward?
No, I think it's always, we talk about this in a lot of our sessions, is that 75% of brokers don't make it 5 years. There is a big washout today. What I think is going to happen is there's going to be 5 and 10-year brokers that are going to get washed out, even though they may have been successful for the last 5 years. If they don't up their game, if they don't use technology to make themselves better, then they're going to get washed out. And they know it, which is the craziest part. We talk to brokers all the time about their technology, and they know they need to get better on their technology. 90% or 96% of all commercial real estate brokers say they want to add technology. And then when we give them the option to add a very simple technology that will make them way better, they pass on it and they keep doing themselves a disservice by doing it the old-fashioned way, by pen and paper or an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many 25 to 35-year-old brokers who tell me, oh, I'm old school. I'm like, you're too young to be old school.
Yeah,
Like, you're still
exactly.
trying to make it.
Yes.
I'm
And
shocked.
if you learn one way, and one of the things that we've had to change as we train people is we've had to show them that technology. I sit down, we have a fairly young partner, Nick Whitehouse. He's in his mid-20s. And I'm like, hey, you're not going to be able to do what I did, which is 40 years of providing exemplary service to your clients and building a network. Of course, we're going to have to do that, but you're going to have to add more. There's going to be another dimension, and that is we have to add technology so that you can be a better broker. We have to provide more services. And what we do today for our clients compared to what I did when I started is 10x more work, 10x harder. And so you have to use technology to make your business better.
Yeah. So it feels like the consumer is going to win, right? They're going to get a better experience. They're probably going to get more service, more quicker turnarounds, right? And there's more pressure on the broker, right?
Yeah, they're also going to get more data, right?
Mhm.
Before, It was a fairly obscure marketplace in leasing, which we do. On the other side, and you know this from the residential side, you can now see every single comp. You go on Zillow, you mentioned that earlier. In our business now, there are people trying, there's a group called CompStack that's trying to get everybody's comps and lease comps. There's, every one of the sales for investment sales, capital market brokers, mortgage brokers, all of those are public knowledge now. So you can see that data, which is then putting more pressure on the broker himself or herself to add value through the process. If you're not adding value, you are going to be diminished. The myth buster is if you continue to add value and you get better and use technology, I think there's still a huge opportunity for good brokers to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the topic technology will soon replace commercial real estate brokers. I want one more question on this. We've seen it a little bit on office, right? With Zoom. People aren't going into the office as much. And so the office market is shrinking right now. And office brokers are having to pivot or react to that. What else do you see, or how do you see that playing out? And do you see other technologies shifting the landscape?
Yeah, so let's just say 50% of the brokers who are mediocre are going to live on just on a general basis. And then where are those 50% of the brokers going to come from? A lot of them are going to be office brokers because we're going to see a decade here. The next 10 years is going to be a very hard decade for office space because we're going to see very limited new construction. We're going to see a complete reorganization of how people use office space. And it's just going to take time to wash through that. We're seeing it right now, and we've been doing it for 40 years. And I laugh, I got a chuckle because for 40 years on not LinkedIn, whenever LinkedIn started, we've had it. I've been an office broker, and now on my LinkedIn, it says office and industrial broker. And we're doing more and more industrial deals, medical deals, even some retail deals now because what we do for a living is just it's not as active as it has been. And we'll see that in other areas too, Charlie. Appraisers aren't brokers, but the appraisal market, as the information becomes more and more freely distributed, appraisal jobs get those guys are going to get diminished. We're going to see it in ancillary services. Like we have a full team of 10 people. Maybe the team won't be as big because we're going to be so technology driven that some of these support staff services are going to be taken away. Those kind of things we're going to see dramatically change.
How about on the flip side? So office is shrinking, office brokers are having to pivot. Are there emerging asset classes or types of real estate where there's going to be an influx of new brokers and new opportunity?
I think we're seeing two things. One, we're seeing this international boom where India, we see a lot of technology occurring with coders and software engineers out of India. So that is, and they're going into office space in India. They're not necessarily working out of their houses because they're not connected. So we're seeing international brokerage happen. We're seeing the big get bigger, CBRE, Cushman and Wakefield, JLL, those groups are getting bigger and bigger and doing more and more. And we're seeing some new areas grow, like data centers. We have some data center specific brokers now that are completely doing only data centers, and they're taking advantage of technology as it happens. So yes, the business is morphing and it will continue to morph.
Yeah. And so, the topic, right? Technology will soon replace commercial real estate brokers. We're busting that myth. So why will technology never replace commercial real estate brokers? What will brokers always have a role to do?
Well, I think in any area where you're having to do something maybe once every 5, 10, 15 years and you don't have an expertise in it, you're always looking for outside help. For example, we're adding on to our house right now. I could have built that and subbed it out myself and played general contractor, but I didn't. I hired a general contractor because I'm not very good at it. I'm paying a fee to have somebody help me build a property properly, get the permits properly, work with the architect, those kind of things. The same thing happens in commercial real estate. You're going to choose your office, industrial, retail space once every 5 to 10 years. This is not a core competency that you want. So you're going to have to hire somebody who's excellent at what they do, and they do this every day, to just do two things for you. One, to ensure that you get a great deal, of course, but two, to also limit your exposure on the risk that you're taking. We say this all the time. We save our clients risk because we know what insurance amounts they should have. We know what subordination language they have. We should have quiet enjoyment in there so they don't get screwed up on those. We do talk about their lenders now. And so all of those things that you would not know about, we're saving people risk. And because we're in the market every day, we do 150 deals a year. So we're doing a deal every 2 days. We have market data that simply nobody else does. And even if technology is out there prevalent in the world, we're going to have more inside information than anybody else will, even if you had technology.
So let's break down the parts of the process that the brokers go through, right? And I think parts of this, you and I do agree on this, parts of this will be automated or supplemented with technology. And then to your point, there will be a couple pieces that will always need human intervention and expertise and something. So do you mind walking me through kind of the process and parts that you see technology really taking more of the load?
Yeah, for a client or for a real estate broker, what side would you like me to look at?
For a broker, real estate broker.
So on a broker, we're in that business with one source. We are trying to make brokers database and their prospecting automated way more than they've had in the past. Being able to pull data on the clients way more. On their deal view, we're giving them way more insights and analytics on their business and a dashboard to make sure that they don't have any balls dropped. So it's really the technology that we're seeing on our company is this technology to make them better brokers without a long learning curve, and the technology to make sure that they're spending more time with their clients. On the other side, there's more information that's out there today than you can have. Like, we can get to contacts. Before, it used to take a long time to find out who the head guy or gal was that was running a company. There's software out there that allows you to buy that software, and you can get to that person, his name or her name, right away. The third piece that we're seeing now in technology, in addition to prospecting, in addition to back office stuff, we're seeing the ability to do compliance and to have all of your records automated and sorted so that you can see that, which is our next product that we're coming. So it's this idea of taking all of the non-client facing work that a broker has and making it more technology and less of their time. And that allows brokers to spend more time doing what they do, developing relationships, adding value, and making transactions happen.
Right. And so Zillow, I've seen this on the residential side. Zillow is a commercial product. Everyone's got it. They can look at all the houses, and when houses go under contract or sell, they can see the comps and they can compare it. So it's very, everyone's got it. What I've seen with my wife, Amanda, her job is morphed from, going to finding the house to actually managing the deal, the legal documents, the contract, the inspection, having a network of professionals that she can, refer out for lenders and, plumbing and roofs and all that. So it is kind of a quarterback for the niche parts of the transaction that that's just become more of the emphasis of her job.
And I think that's what we're seeing on the commercial side too. The idea on the old days is, if I showed you the property, I got paid a commission. And that is so far from what we do now, especially in commercial. In any commercial lease negotiation, there's 30 to 40 items that are negotiated, from occupancy date, and what if there's a delay in occupancy date, to parking rates, to visitor rates, to after hours air conditioning, not just the rent, not just any free rent, not just tenant improvements. I'll give you just a perfect example. On tenant improvements now, a lot of landlords are adding a construction management fee that they give you the allowance on one hand, and then they take out a 3.5% fee on the other hand. So they're really only giving you 97.5% of the fee that they actually told you they were going to give you. So there's all of these issues that come into play. And if you're not using a broker to represent your interest, then those interests aren't being represented. And so
Yeah.
what we think is going to happen, and we're seeing this right now, is if you can add value to the process, you're going to be good. If you're not adding value, then you're going to be automated out. And so if you view your job as simply showing somebody a property and letting the rest take its case, then there's a high likelihood that you're going to be out of the business in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And, for businesses, their number one expense is people, typically. Their number two expense is office space or real estate, typically, right?
It's
Um,
changing. Here's
is
a
it?
great one. Number one is people. Number two now is going to be technology.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
number three is going to be their office space, depending on if they're, what they do for a
Retail
living.
or industrial. Yeah.
Right. But there's a big change right now.
Yeah.
And what we've seen brokers in their own operating expense to run their team, they haven't increased their budgets for technology. I'm shocked how many times we talk to brokers and go, oh, boy, your $100 a month is expensive. I'm like, man, that is the cheapest $100 you're going to spend a month, because it's going to save you 10 to 15 hours a month on what you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. And on the residential side, right, the buying a home is one of the biggest purchases of your life. So it's like these big purchases, whether it's you personally, your family, or your business, you're going to need expertise. You're going to want expertise to make sure you do the right thing for you long term.
Our audience would agree with us on this. Now we have to say, okay, what is the nuance? What's the unspoken truth here? And the unspoken truth is, if you're a broker and you're not getting better every year, you're going to be out of the business. That is an unspoken truth. We've talked about it before. We're going to say it again. Get better. What do I mean by get better? Use more technology, build your team better, get more effective in what you're doing. Learn something new that you haven't done before so that you can provide a service that you've never given. And
Keep
if you're
building
not doing that,
relationships, right?
build relationships deeper than you've ever had before. Build raving fans. This is one of the things that we're really focused on, right? How do we build at one source raving fans? And the reason we're doing that is because I know in my 40-year business, I get business from raving fans. And we know at one source right now, we're getting a lot of our new clients are coming from referrals because we have raving fans that are saying great things about our products.
Yep. So, to recap here, technology will soon replace average CRE brokers, not all CRE
Great line.
brokers, right?
Yep.
There will always be a place. I think there's going to be consolidation. You use the travel agency industry as an example or a metaphor here. There will be consolidation where the best brokers are still there. The market is always morphing and moving. Office may be low and bad over the next decade, but data centers are emerging. There's going to be other industries that are growing. Industrial has grown a ton over the last 5 years. But at the end of the day, it's a huge decision that you look at, like you said, once every 5 or 10 years. You're going to want expertise. You're going to want someone who knows it, who's in the weeds every day to help guide you. And that's what brokers' jobs are going to continue to turn into and be focused on. Is just being the
Yeah.
best, advice and expertise there.
And I think for the brokers listening to this, be introspective on how much value you're adding. I think it's super easy to think my clients think I'm adding value, and then you want to get paid on a deal where you don't do anything. And so it's like that, those days, those easy money days, and I probably benefited as much as anybody over the last 40 years. I thought the business was hard. It's getting really hard now, and you have to be really good.
Yep. Well, it's a good call out. Be introspective, be self-analyzing. We train our team to do that. And I think it's a valuable skill to learn, especially for brokers who are running their own business. The only way to get better is to self-analyze and look at where am I weak? Where do I need to grow? What's important for me over the next 5 years?
And what the reason we created DealView was exactly
Yep.
this. And what we wanted, in my own Capola Cheney team, I wanted, and we've realized this in our own company, the more data we get, the more analytics we get, the better we get, because we understand our business better. And the amount of information that I used to get when we had the old Excel spreadsheet to what we get now with DealView is insanely better. And we know now our niches, and we've been able to solve some issues that I could never get my arms around just because I got better data, better
Yep.
analytics.
Yep. And just on our own company, CRE One Source, we look at so many different metrics. We analyze, every problem 10 different ways with data. And we're a very data-driven company. But you and I always say, right, data tells you the truth, and all change starts with telling yourself the truth. And so that's why we lean on a lot of our tracking and our data to help us make decisions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Technology will soon replace average CRE brokers, right? Not all.
There you go.
There you go. Myth
Mythbusters.
busted. Thanks so much.
Thank you.